I never thought I'd be the guy who ends up writing a post like this, but here I am. My name is Mark and I'm 34. I've been married to Jessica for 6 years. We met in college, and to say it was love at first sight would be an understatement. She was charming, beautiful, and just so vibrant. Everyone loved her, and I felt lucky to have someone so special by my side. But lately, things have changed. The spark that once ignited our relationship was dimming, and I couldn't quite put my finger on why. It started a few months ago. Jess began working late almost every night. At first, I thought it was just her job getting more demanding at the marketing firm she claimed to love. I wanted to support her, so I didn't say much. But then came the little things, the late-night texts, the mysterious phone calls where she'd excuse herself to take care of something important, and the way she started dressing. I mean, nothing too scandalous, but definitely more appealing. It was like she was suddenly trying harder to impress someone. I brushed it off until one evening when I decided to surprise her at work. I was excited and had a bouquet of flowers in hand. As I drove to her office address, I felt a flutter of anticipation. I imagined her surprise and delight, and I couldn't help but smile. But when I arrived at the location, confusion set in. The office building she had claimed was her workplace didn't exist. I sat there, staring at the empty lot where her so-called marketing firm was supposed to be. Panic gripped me. I tried to convince myself that I had the address wrong, but deep down, I knew something was off. I decided to drive around the area, hoping to find a clue or perhaps another employee who could set my mind at ease. After a few minutes, I found a coffee shop nearby and stopped for a caffeine fix. I needed to think. As I sipped my coffee, I couldn't shake the gnawing feeling in my gut. My heart raced as I recalled the past few weeks, the changes in her behavior, the evasiveness. When I got home that night, my mind was racing. Jess didn't come home until well past midnight. I tried to play it cool, but I could barely eat dinner. She walked in and I could smell the faint scent of perfume that wasn't hers. My insides twisted with every passing second. She was wearing an outfit that looked like it belonged on a date, not a marketing meeting. When I confronted her about the office, she just laughed it off. "Oh, Mark, you worry too much. I've been working on a big project with a client and I've been meeting them at their office. It's not a big deal," she said, waving her hand dismissively. But I wasn't convinced. The more she talked, the more I felt a sense of dread settle over me. I had to know the truth. That night I decided to dig deeper. I went into her email and phone when she went to take a shower. What I found was worse than I could have imagined. Text messages exchanged with another man, filled with intimate conversations and plans that left no room for doubt. My heart dropped. I felt sick as I read through their exchanges, my world crashing down around me. There was no denying it. My wife was cheating on me. The confrontation came the next morning. I could barely sleep, and when Jess woke up, I was already sitting at the kitchen table, my hands shaking as I gripped the cold mug of coffee. When she walked in, her usual bright smile faded as she saw my expression. "Mark, what's wrong? Why don't you tell me?" I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "I found something last night." She looked confused, then defensive. "What do you mean, you went through my phone?" "Yeah, I did," I said, fighting back the hurt that was threatening to overwhelm me. "I saw the messages. I know you're with someone else." Her reaction was the last thing I expected. Instead of denial, she laughed, that cruel, mocking laugh that sent chills down my spine. "Oh, come on, you really think you can just accuse me like that? You're being ridiculous, Mark." I pressed on, my heart racing. "Ridiculous? You think this is a joke? I saw everything." She immediately switched gears, her tone turned venomous. "You're so controlling, always questioning me. It's exhausting. Maybe I wouldn't have to lie if you weren't such a paranoid mess." Her words stung, and I felt anger bubble up within me. How could she turn this around? I was the one betrayed, yet she twisted it to make me the villain. I couldn't believe the woman I loved was capable of such cruelty. The fight ended with her storming out of the house, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I was shattered, but deep down, I also felt a spark of determination. This wasn't over. I would find out more about this double life she was leading, and I would make her pay for what she did to me. I didn't know how yet, but I would make her realize the consequences of her actions. The betrayal ran deep, and I was prepared to dive into the darkness that awaited me. After the confrontation, I was left in a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, sadness, and betrayal crashed together in my mind like waves against a rocky shore. I couldn't dwell on it for too long, though. I had to act. I needed to uncover the truth behind Jess's deception and the man who had wormed his way into our lives. That evening, I went to her closet and started looking through her things. I was desperate for some sort of evidence, something that would help me piece together this puzzle. Most of her clothes were just as I remembered, dresses and casual wear that I had seen her in before, but then I found it, a receipt for a hotel in the city dated just last week. My heart sank and I felt bile rise in my throat. The hotel was upscale, not the kind of place you go to for business meetings. There was no doubt in my mind what that meant. I clenched my fists, reminding myself that I needed to stay calm and collected. I couldn't let Jess see how much this was affecting me. The next day, I decided to follow her. I knew it was a risk, but I had to see where she was going and if she was really meeting this guy. I took a few personal days off work, using the time to gather evidence. I parked a few blocks away from our house and waited. I watched as she got into her car, her demeanor completely carefree, as if she didn't have a care in the world. When she arrived at a cafe downtown, my heart raced. I watched her from a distance as she sat at a table, twirling her hair and laughing with a man who looked to be in his late 30s. He was well-dressed, charming, everything I was not, at least in her eyes. Jess leaned in close, her body language telling me everything I needed to know. They exchanged drinks and laughter like it was the most natural thing in the world. As I sat there, anger bubbled inside me. She had the audacity to act like everything was fine, to flirt and giggle with this stranger while I was at home, heartbroken and alone. I could feel my blood boiling, and I had to fight the urge to burst through the cafe door and confront them both right then and there. But I had a plan. I couldn't just confront her without solid proof. I needed to gather evidence, not just for my own peace of mind, but also to ensure that when I laid everything bare, she couldn't twist the narrative. I snapped pictures of them together, capturing moments of intimacy that would speak volumes when the time came. It felt like an eternity before they finally left the cafe. They walked down the street and I followed them at a distance, careful not to be seen. They ended up at that same hotel, the one I had found the receipt for. My heart raced as I watched them walk through the entrance. I was about to lose it. Instead of storming in, I decided to stay back. I couldn't let my emotions get the best of me, especially not now. I had to wait. I had to be methodical. I pulled out my phone and started recording from a distance, capturing the moment Jess stepped inside with this man. The betrayal was unbearable. As I stood there, I realized that I was no longer the man she had married. I was transforming into someone dark and twisted by my need for revenge. My heart ached not just from her betrayal, but from how far I had fallen, how deeply hurt I was, and how that hurt was morphing into something dangerous. Days turned into weeks, and my investigation continued. I learned that this guy, whose name I later discovered was Chad, was someone from her past. They had gone to college together, and he had recently moved back to town. Every time I confronted Jess about her late nights or the lingering scent of cologne that wasn't mine, she had an excuse ready. Just a work meeting, or I was out with friends, or you're being paranoid again. But I had the evidence now. I started collecting everything, emails, texts, and the photos I took of her with Chad. I felt like a private investigator. I even ended up reaching out to a few of her old friends to see if they had any insight into this relationship. What I found out shattered me even more. It turned out that Jess had been seeing Chad for almost a year. My heart sank. The betrayal was not just a one-time fling. She had a whole secret life that I knew nothing about. This wasn't just infidelity. It was a web of lies. She had been lying to my face while planning secret rendezvous with Chad, even making excuses about work trips as a cover. I felt like I was in a haze, moving through life without truly being present. The emotional roller coaster was relentless. I vacillated between rage and sorrow. How could she betray me like this? How could someone I loved so deeply turn into a stranger overnight? There were nights I'd lay awake, replaying every moment of our relationship, questioning everything I thought I knew. But I wouldn't let her get away with this. I was determined to expose her lies and show her the consequences of her actions. I had the proof, and it was time to put my plan into action. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she had done, to understand the pain she had caused. I needed her to know that I wouldn't just sit back and take it. As I prepared to confront her again, I felt a mixture of dread and anticipation. I was ready to take the next step, and as painful as it would be, it was time for Jess to face the music. The day of reckoning arrived sooner than I anticipated. I had gathered all the evidence, and the weight of it felt like a heavy burden in my chest. I spent the morning pacing around the house, rehearsing what I would say, how she would react, and how I could make her see the gravity of her betrayal. I knew this confrontation was going to be a turning point in our lives, and I needed to be prepared for anything. When Jess came home that afternoon, she had that same carefree demeanor. It was infuriating. She looked radiant, unaware of the storm that was brewing just beneath the surface of our lives. I sat at the kitchen table, my laptop open, the evidence neatly organized for her to see. The moment she walked in, I could tell she sensed something was off. Her smile faltered and she paused, glancing at me with a mix of confusion and concern. "Mark, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice laced with a hint of worry. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. "We need to talk." "What about?" she replied, bracing herself as she walked toward me. "About us," I said, my heart pounding, "and about your little secret." Her expression shifted and I could see the defensiveness rise in her. "What are you talking about?" I opened my laptop and pulled up the first photo of her and Chad together. "This." I slid the laptop toward her, watching her face as she processed the image. The color drained from her cheeks as realization set in, her expression morphing from confusion to panic. "Where did you get that?" she stammered, her voice trembling. "Does it matter?" I shot back, my anger boiling over. "You think I'd just sit here and accept that you've been lying to me for months, that you've been cheating on me with this guy?" Her eyes darted around the room as if searching for a way out. "Mark, please, you don't understand. It's not what it looks like." "No." "Because it looks pretty damn clear to me," I interrupted, slamming my hand on the table. "You've been meeting him at that hotel and I have the receipts to prove it. You said you were working late, but you were really with him." "Okay, I was, but it was just a fling," she exclaimed, her voice suddenly rising in desperation. "I didn't mean for it to happen. We were just reconnecting." "Reconnect while cheating on your husband? Is that your excuse? You think that makes it all right?" She shrank back, visibly shaken. "I didn't want to hurt you, Mark. I never wanted it to go this far. I thought I could just have a little fun and it wouldn't mean anything." My heart sank. "Fun? Is that what this was to you, just a game?" "I'm sorry," she pleaded. "I didn't know how to tell you. I was scared of losing you. Scared of losing me. You should have thought about that before you decided to betray me." The conversation spiraled into chaos, with Jess throwing out half-hearted excuses and apologies while I fought to keep my composure. I felt like I was caught in a whirlwind, and each word she spoke made my anger swell more. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions, to understand how deeply she had hurt me. As the argument raged on, I realized that no matter how many times she apologized or claimed it was a mistake, the damage was done. I felt a profound sense of grief washing over me, grief for the relationship we had, for the love that seemed to have evaporated overnight, and for the life I thought we would continue to build together. I chose to lay out all the evidence I had collected, each piece a dagger to her heart. "These are just a few messages I found, Jess. You've been lying to me for so long, and now you want me to believe it was just a fling." I showed her the texts, flirty banter, plans for dates, and intimate words exchanged between them. The color faded from her face as she read them, and for the first time I saw a glimmer of real remorse in her eyes. "I never wanted you to find out like this," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Too late for that," I said, my voice shaking with suppressed emotions. "You've shattered my trust, Jess. I don't know if I can ever forgive you for this." The silence that followed was heavy, filled with unsaid words and unprocessed feelings. I could see the wheels turning in her mind, and I knew she was desperately trying to formulate a response that would somehow lessen the blow. But in that moment, I wasn't interested in her words. I wanted her to confront the reality of what she had done. I need time, I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. I can't just sweep this under the rug, like you seem to think I can. She reached out, tears in her eyes, but I recoiled instinctively. Don't, I said. I can't handle your touch right now. I need to think about everything, the betrayal, the lies, the love I thought we had. I can't just pretend it doesn't hurt. I watched her expression shift from desperation to heartbreak, and I felt a pang of guilt for the pain I was causing her. But it was nothing compared to the pain she had inflicted on me. I needed to stand my ground, even if it felt like I was shattering her too. I'll stay at a friend's place for a while, I said, my voice steady though my heart was heavy. I need space to figure this out. Mark, please don't go, she cried, her voice breaking. I'll do anything to make this right. I'll end things with Chad. I'll prove to you how much I love you. But I couldn't trust her anymore. The foundation of our relationship had crumbled, and I needed to make sure I was doing what was best for me. I grabbed my bag and walked toward the door, feeling a mix of sorrow and strength coursing through me. As I stepped outside, the weight of the world felt heavy on my shoulders. I was no longer just a betrayed husband. I was a man on a mission to reclaim my life. I didn't know what the future held, but I was determined to find out, whether it meant healing and rebuilding or moving on entirely. The time for indecision was over. I had to find my way through this darkness, and I was ready to confront whatever lay ahead. My stay at my friend Alex's place felt surreal. I was surrounded by familiar faces, yet I felt entirely alone. The laughter and banter from the living room echoed in my mind, but all I could think about was Jess and the betrayal that had shattered my world. Alex tried to cheer me up, but no amount of distraction could fill the void that Jess had created. For the next few days, I kept replaying the confrontation over and over. The hurt, the anger, the disbelief, it was all consuming. I spent my nights lying awake, staring at the ceiling, grappling with the reality of what my life had become. The man I loved, the woman I thought I knew, had transformed into something unrecognizable. I began to gather my thoughts, writing in a journal each night to process everything. It felt therapeutic to pour out my feelings, but it also served as a stark reminder of the love I had lost. I wrote about all the moments we shared, the dreams we had for the future, and the crushing weight of betrayal that now tainted those memories. As the days turned into a week, I started to feel a sense of clarity. I realized that the love I had for Jess was still there, but it was buried beneath layers of hurt and deception. I couldn't just cut her out of my life completely. After all, we had built a life together. But I also knew that if we were to move forward, things would have to change drastically. One evening, I decided to go back to the house. I needed to face Jess again, to confront her about what we could do next. I wasn't ready to forgive her, but I wanted to lay out the options. As I drove back, my stomach twisted with anxiety. I had no idea how she would react. Would she be remorseful? Would she try to manipulate the situation again? When I arrived, I found Jess sitting on the front steps, looking lost. Her eyes were red and puffy from crying, and my heart ached at the sight. I had expected her to be angry or defensive, but instead she seemed genuinely broken. "Mark," she said, her voice trembling, "I've been waiting for you. I didn't know if you'd ever come back." I took a breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. "We need to talk," I said, my tone firm. "Please just give me a chance to explain," she pleaded, her eyes searching mine for understanding. "Explain what? How you decided to betray me, how you thought lying would somehow fix things." I shot back, feeling the anger bubbling to the surface again. "I know I messed up, but I want to make it right. I love you, Mark. I was just confused. I didn't know what I wanted." "Confused?" I echoed, incredulous. "You think that's an excuse? You don't get to just dismiss what happened as confusion. You made a choice, over and over again." She hung her head, tears streaming down her face. "I know, I'm so sorry. I can't express how much I regret it. I never wanted to hurt you. I need to understand how we got here," I admitted, feeling my resolve begin to waver. "What did Chad offer you that I did?" Jess looked up, her expression shifting as she tried to find the right words. "He made me feel desired. I don't know how to explain it. You've been so busy with work and life that I felt invisible. It was stupid and it spiraled out of control, but I want to fix this. I want us back." Her words hit me hard. I understood the feeling of being invisible, of longing for connection, but that didn't justify her actions. I took a moment, weighing my next words carefully. If we're going to have any chance of working through this, we need to be honest. We need to lay everything on the table. With that, I pulled out my journal and started reading passages from my writings. I shared my thoughts about our relationship, how I had felt neglected, and how her actions had shattered my trust. Jess listened intently, nodding along as I poured out my heart. When I finished, I could see a flicker of realization in her eyes. "I had no idea you felt this way," she said softly. "I thought I was doing the right thing by trying to reconnect with an old friend. I didn't think it would lead to this." "Jess, I want to believe you," I replied, my voice steady but pained. "But it's going to take time. I can't just forgive you overnight. You need to rebuild what was lost, and that's going to require honesty and hard work." "I'm willing to do anything," she said, her voice breaking. "I'll cut off all contact with Chad, I'll go to therapy, I'll do whatever it takes to prove my love for you." Hesitation washed over me. Could I trust that she would follow through? "I need to see real effort from you, it can't just be words," I warned. "This isn't just about you, it's about us. If we're going to move forward, we both have to be committed." Jess nodded vigorously, determination shining in her eyes. "You have my word. I promise I'll do everything in my power to make it right. I love you, Mark. I don't want to lose you." "Then let's start there," I said, feeling a flicker of hope despite the heaviness in my heart. "Let's take it one day at a time. We can go to couples therapy together. It might help us understand each other better and work through this." She swallowed hard, her vulnerability laid bare before me. "Okay, I want that. I want to fix this." We spent the next few hours talking, laying everything on the table. We shared our fears, our regrets, and our hopes for the future. It was a painful conversation, but it was also necessary. I knew we had a long road ahead, full of ups and downs. We would need to work hard to rebuild our trust and our love. As I left the house that evening, I felt a mix of emotions: hope, uncertainty, and a flicker of love rekindling in my heart. It wouldn't be easy, but I was willing to try. The pain of betrayal would linger, but maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other, one step at a time. The journey was just beginning, and I was ready to face whatever came next. The following weeks were a whirlwind of emotions and adjustments. Jess and I decided to attend couples therapy together, hoping it would provide a safe space to communicate and work through our issues. The first session was incredibly awkward. Sitting across from a stranger, I felt exposed, like I was peeling back layers of my life I'd rather keep hidden. Jess, on the other hand, was visibly nervous. Her hands trembled as she fidgeted with her rings. Our therapist, Dr. Lewis, was calm and collected, guiding us through the initial stages of the session. She encouraged us to share our thoughts and feelings openly, which was easier said than done. I found it hard to speak without feeling the weight of betrayal hanging over me. "Mark, can you tell Jess how you felt when you discovered the affair?" Dr. Lewis prompted, her gaze steady. I took a deep breath, looking over at Jess. I felt like my whole world had collapsed. It wasn't just about the infidelity, it was everything: the lies, the secrecy, the feeling of being completely blindsided. I thought we were building a life together, and then it felt like it was all a lie. Tears welled in Jess's eyes, and I could see the pain I was expressing was hitting home. "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I was just so lost and confused." "But you chose to go down that path," I replied, my voice firm but tinged with sadness. "You made a conscious decision to betray my trust, and that's what's hard to get past." Dr. Lewis nodded, guiding us gently through the conversation. "It's important to acknowledge the hurt and the choices that led to this point," she said. "But it's also vital to explore what brought you to those choices in the first place. Jess, can you reflect on what was going on in your life that led you to seek comfort elsewhere?" Jess hesitated, tears streaming down her cheeks as she grappled with her emotions. "I think I was feeling neglected," she admitted finally. "I thought I was being supportive, but I also felt like I was losing myself in the process. I wanted to feel desired again, and Chad, he gave me attention and made me feel special. I felt a pang of empathy mixed with anger. But you didn't have to cheat to feel desired. You could have talked to me. We could have worked through it together." "I know," she replied, her voice cracking. "I was just so stupid. I thought I could handle it without hurting you, and instead I hurt you way more. As the session continued, we talked about rebuilding trust and how to communicate effectively. Dr. Lewis encouraged us to set boundaries and expectations moving forward. While it was daunting, I felt a sense of relief in discussing our issues openly, even if it felt uncomfortable. It was the first step toward healing, even if it was only a small one. After the session, Jess and I went home, but the air was still thick with unresolved tension. We sat on the couch in silence, exhaustion hanging heavy over us. I could see Jess's eyes flicker with uncertainty, and part of me wanted to reach out and comfort her, but the wounds were still too raw. "Do you think we can actually fix this?" she asked quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I want to believe we can," I replied, my heart aching. "But it's going to take a lot of work. It's not going to be easy, Jess. Trust doesn't just magically come back." "I understand," she said, her eyes glistening. "I'm ready to do whatever it takes. I don't want to lose you." The weeks continued to blur into months as we navigated the tumultuous waters of rebuilding our relationship. Therapy sessions became a regular part of our routine, and slowly but surely, we began to peel back the layers of hurt and resentment that had built up over the years. One of the most challenging aspects was the lingering presence of Chad, the man who had been a significant part of our turmoil. Jess kept her promise. She cut off all contact with him, but that didn't erase the feelings of betrayal. I found myself constantly questioning her every move, wondering if she was slipping back into old habits or if she was truly committed to making things right. One evening, after a particularly intense therapy session, we decided to go out for dinner. It felt good to be out together, away from the heavy discussions of our relationship. As we sat across from each other, I could see a glimpse of the woman I had fallen in love with, the laughter in her eyes, the warmth of her smile. "Mark," she said, her tone suddenly serious, "I want to show you how much I appreciate your willingness to work through this. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm committed to making things right between us." I nodded, the weight of her words sinking in. "I appreciate that, Jess. This is hard for both of us, but I'm willing to give it a chance." As the night wore on, we talked more openly about our dreams and aspirations, about the things we had wanted to achieve together before everything had spiraled out of control. It felt like we were both awakening from a long slumber, trying to reclaim the connection we once had. But the shadow of betrayal still loomed, a constant reminder of the fracture in our relationship. I couldn't ignore it, and I knew Jess couldn't either. It was an uphill battle, and every day presented new challenges. One night, I found myself lying awake thinking about the future. Questions swirled in my mind. Would we ever truly move past this? Could I trust her again? I wanted to believe we could find a way forward, but the scars were still fresh. And then an unexpected call changed everything. It was Alex, my friend. "Hey man, I just wanted to check in on you. How are you holding up?" His familiar voice grounded me. "It's been rough, but we're working on things," I replied. "Listen, I know this is a tough time for you, but I've got some news that might surprise you. I ran into Chad the other day." My heart stopped. "What do you mean you ran into him?" "He's been back in town and he's still trying to reach out to Jess," Alex said, his tone serious. "I'm not sure what's going on, but I thought you should know." That news hit me like a cold slap in the face. My instincts flared and my stomach churned. "What do you mean trying to reach out?" She cut him off. "I don't know, man. I just thought you should be aware. I'm worried about you too." I hung up, my mind racing. The feeling of betrayal resurfaced, mixing with a sense of urgency. I couldn't let Chad disrupt the progress Jess and I had made. I needed to confront this head-on, to protect the fragile bond we were trying to rebuild. I resolved to talk to Jess about what I had learned and set clear boundaries. I wasn't going to let our relationship slip back into turmoil. It was time to take charge of the situation and ensure that we both stayed on the right path. As I lay in bed that night, I felt a new determination rise within me. I would fight for our love, for the life we had built together. But I would also hold Jess accountable. This was no longer just about healing. It was about fighting against the demons of infidelity and reclaiming what was rightfully ours. The journey was far from over, but I was ready to face whatever came next. The next day, I confronted Jess. my heart racing as I prepared to share what I had learned from Alex. We were sitting across from each other at the kitchen table, the stillness of the morning hanging heavily in the air. I could see the remnants of worry etched on her face, and I knew she could sense that something was off. "Jess, we need to talk," I began, trying to keep my tone steady, her eyebrows knitted together in concern. "What about?" "Chad reached out to Alex. He told me he's still trying to get in touch with you." The color drained from her face, and I could tell she was caught off guard. "What?" But I cut him off. "I haven't spoken to him since everything happened." "Alex wouldn't lie about this, Jess. I need to know if there's any truth to it. Are you still in contact with him?" "No, I swear I'm not," she exclaimed, her voice rising slightly with panic. "I promise I've been completely focused on us. I don't want him in my life anymore." I searched her eyes, looking for any hint of deceit. "I want to believe you, but this feels like a huge risk. We're trying to heal, and I can't do that with him lingering in the background." "Mark, I understand how you feel. I know. It's hard to trust me right now, but I am committed to making this work," she said, her voice trembling. "You have to believe me. I don't want to lose you again." I nodded slowly, absorbing her words. "Okay, but we need to put more safeguards in place. No secretive phone calls, no social media contact. If Chad tries to reach you again, I need you to tell me immediately." "Absolutely," she replied, her eyes filled with sincerity. "I promise to keep you in the loop about everything. I'll also block him on all my accounts." The conversation felt like a pivotal moment, a chance to reestablish rules and boundaries that would protect our relationship. As we discussed it further, I felt a mix of relief and apprehension. This was a step in the right direction, but it wouldn't erase the scars of betrayal overnight. In the following days, Jess followed through with her promises. She blocked Chad on social media and was open about her phone conversations. I felt a flicker of hope rest in my chest, but I was acutely aware that earning trust was a marathon, not a sprint. As time went on, we continued to attend therapy sessions, steadily working through our issues and learning to communicate openly. Each session peeled back more layers of our relationship, revealing vulnerabilities we hadn't fully understood before. One evening, after a particularly productive session, Jess and I sat on the couch, both exhausted yet hopeful. "Mark," she started, her voice soft, "I want to thank you for being so patient with me. I know I've put you through hell, and I don't take that lightly." "I appreciate you acknowledging that," I replied, watching her closely. "But it's a two-way street. I'm learning too. I realize that I need to be more open about my feelings, even when it's uncomfortable." She smiled, a genuine warmth in her eyes. "I want us to build a future together, Mark. Even though it's been rocky, I believe we can make it through." "Me too," I admitted, feeling a surge of affection. "But it's going to take time. I need to keep rebuilding trust, and I'm willing to do that with you." As the weeks turned into months, we began to rediscover one another. During quiet evenings spent laughing over dinner or cozying to watch movies, the intimacy we once had started to return. Our paths weren't without bumps. Old insecurities and fears would occasionally rear their heads, but we faced them together rather than allowing them to drive us apart. One night, as we sat on the porch under a blanket of stars, I found myself reflecting on how far we had come. "You know, I never expected to be here after everything that happened," I said, glancing at Jess. "But I'm grateful we chose to fight for our relationship." "I am too," she whispered, leaning closer. "I think we've both grown so much. It's painful to think about the betrayal, but it also opened our eyes to what we really want." I nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "This journey hasn't been easy, but I've learned a lot about love, trust, and the importance of accountability. I don't want to take anything for granted anymore." As I looked into her eyes, I realized that while the scars of betrayal would always remain, our bond had become stronger for it. I felt a new sense of appreciation for our relationship, the effort we were both putting in, the vulnerability we shared, and the love that was slowly being rekindled. In time, Jess and I would continue to face challenges, but I had faith that we could navigate them together. We had both learned valuable lessons about ourselves and our relationship, and I no longer viewed the future with dread. Instead, I was ready to embrace it, hand in hand with the woman I loved. As the stars twinkled overhead, I whispered, "Here," to us, to rebuilding, and to a future filled with love and honesty. Jess smiled back, her eyes sparkling in the moonlight. Together. And in that moment, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. We were no longer just a couple trying to mend a broken relationship. We were partners committed to growth, healing, and forging a brighter path ahead. The journey was far from over, but I was ready for whatever came next.